Have you guys ever had one of those nights where the world feels different, where the air just hangs thick and the darkness seems to swallow up the edges of everything? I've spent so many late nights behind the wheel, driving strangers from one corner of the city to another. And if you do this long enough, you just start to hear stories that hit you so hard, they feel like a punch in the chest. Stories that leave you questioning the world that you thought you understood. I've heard tales of alien abductions, haunted dolls, creatures lurking in the shadows of the night. And I've always chased those stories, pulled them out of people like a fisherman reeling in something too big to handle. But then, every once in a while, even for me, someone tells you something that just stays with you. Something that feels too real to be just another urban legend. So buckle up, because tonight I'm taking you down a road you may not come back from. It was one of those nights, the kind where the city feels like it's holding its breath. Past midnight, of course, and the rides are slow, so I'm just cruising, letting my mind wander. That's when I get a ping. I pull up to a dimly lit street corner and find a guy that gets in the back seat. This small Filipino dude, probably mid-30s, casual, friendly, and after a little bit of small talk, I can I can just tell he's the kind of guy who likes to talk and is always listening. And I'm always paying attention. So we start talking about life, family, the old country where he's from, and I get this nagging question in the back of my head. And for somebody like me who's sensitive, you learn to trust these feelings and these little voices in your head. And it kept nagging at me again. Ask him, ask him, ask him. Ask him what? Ask him, are Filipino people superstitious? Which is silly on face because of course they are. Everybody knows that. They're super superstitious. But I was like, hey, this is only going to be like a 12-minute ride. What can it hurt? So I asked him, hey, are Filipino people superstitious? And then he goes, oh, oh yeah, Filipino people, we're very superstitious. And I go, oh, really? Well, do you have any like stories from like back where you're from, or like what kind of weird things that, most people don't know about that people believe in where you're from? Now you would think I just asked something so innocent, but the look on his face said otherwise. His eyes got distant, like he was seeing something he didn't want him to remember. And in that moment, I didn't think he was going to say anything at all. And he paused and he said, oh, well, that's funny because I've lived here for 12 years and I've never even had anybody ask me anything like this. And he says, well, there's a lot of things that we see and we believe. And one of them is, well, the little people. We have these furry, like little Sasquatch creatures that they believe in, and that they have to bite their thumb at whenever they look at the forest, or something like that. And he also said that there was no whistling in the forest because that's how the people of the forest communicate. and they may think that you're talking to them and they may get you. So that was like always something. And these are things that I personally have heard because I was doing a lot of research in that area at the time. But it was like interesting to hear him like speak so matter of factly about all these things. And then he said, well, and then there was a thing that happened to my uncle. And at this point, he could tell that I was really into this kind of stuff, and I was telling my research and talk about this kind of stuff to all my passengers all the time. And he goes, well, when my uncle was 12, he went missing in the woods for 2 weeks. And he came back different. And I said, different, what do you mean? Like he was never the same. He used to be a happy, smiley boy and like very young. But when he came back, he was like an adult with stress and problems. And I said, well, what happened to him? He said, well, one day he was in the forest just like normal and going on paths that he normally did. But for some reason, he didn't know where he was this time, and he just kept walking in circles and till he came upon this giant house in the middle of the woods. He had never seen it before, but he was so tired and hungry and thirsty, he went to knock on the door to beg for help, and that's when he realized he was in the world of the little people. And the woman that opened the door was a little person. But when I guess they say little person, they just say they can become small, but they can also be normal size, if that makes any sense to you guys. So he tells me more about his uncle, a man who grew up in a rural part of the Philippines, deep in the mountains, surrounded by thick forests. A place you don't walk the land like you own it. You walk like you're borrowing it. Because the things that live there, they've been there a lot longer than you have. Also, I think time works differently there. Because he said he felt like he was gone not that long, but he was gone for a couple of weeks from what I remember. The family searched for him for days, calling his name, combing through the trees. Desperation bleeding into anger, into grief, into something else, something darker. Because I think they all knew in their heart of hearts what happened. The forest ate them up like it has done many in the past. So he comes out stumbling from the forest like a man who's crawled out of his own grave, but he was scratched up, dirty, eyes hollowed and wild. But he didn't really say much is what he said. He talked about strange food, things that looked like roots but tasted sweet, and creatures that looked human but weren't, especially the woman that took him in. And the craziest part about this is that he said him and the woman had sex and she got pregnant. And he was there in this time. He actually said he liked it there. And the woman was very kind and the people were kind, but he missed his home and wanted to come back. And the woman said that he couldn't leave and that he needed to stay with her basically. And he said that when they tried to go into the forest again for him to show them where the house was, He found the spot where the house was supposed to be, but there was no house there. In its place, a giant old tree. Matter of fact, people said it was like the most giant and oldest tree in the entire forest that they knew of. But he said he went inside of it in a woman's house and stayed there for weeks. Now, if you're a regular person hearing this story, you probably think that this person is mad and that his entire family is mad for believing such things. But if you're someone like me and someone like the people who enjoy a 3 a.m. drive, then you know there's more to this story than what meets the eye. Because when we go back in history, we can see that this isn't the first time that somebody has had a story like this. Not in the slightest. And this isn't the only culture where stories like this happen. It made me think about how many cultures have stories like this. The duwende from the Philippines, the Holder folk from Iceland, the Yunwi Sunsi from the Cherokee, fairies from Europe. Every culture's got its little people, things hiding on the edges of our world. When you read authors like Jacques Vallée, John Keel, or any of those researchers who spent their lives chasing the unknown, then you can start seeing the patterns. They say these creatures aren't just folklore. They're part of something deeper. Something that wears different masks, speaks different languages, but keeps showing up all the same. I mean, what if these things aren't just relics of old stories? What if they're still here, hiding in the places we've forgotten to look, waiting for us to come across some invisible line? And the more I think about it, the more it feels like all of these stories are pieces of some bigger puzzle. Something that's been with us since the beginning. And I tell you now, for a long time, I've been fascinated with the concept of little people and fairies and another group of people that live amongst us unseen. Meaning they know about us, but we don't know about them anymore. We've lost that connection. And it reminds me of a story that was told to me by an ex-girlfriend of mine. It's so weird. She actually told me this when we first met, and I probably shouldn't have dated her because of this, but I actually dated her probably because of it. And she told me when she was a kid, she said that she saw like a little person, like a elf, as she described it, like a small elf, like maybe 2 feet tall, that was in her shack around her father's house, this property that he owned. And that this thing literally chased her around, and that was like evil, and she was so scared, and it freaked her out her entire life, and she swore that it was real, and nobody ever believed her. Until I heard the story, and I told her I totally believed her, because ironically enough, when I visited her for the first time, and I saw that area she was in, I was like, man, it feels like little people are around here. But what do you guys think? Was this uncle just lost and delirious? Or did he really stumble into something else? I want to hear your thoughts. Also, I want to know, have you ever experienced something like this? If you do, please reach out. Tell us the story in the comment section, or I'll share your story with everyone else, because These stories go to the top of the list. Tell me your stories. Drop a comment below. This is a place where the unexplained is welcome. And who knows, maybe your story will be the next one we talk about on our 3 a.m. drive. But for now, our ride is over. It's time for you to get out. You're at your stop. I hope you enjoyed your time entertaining the bizarre, the weird, and the fringes of reality. But I'm not done searching for answers, and this is just one story. So, get ready for the next 3 a.m. drive. It's just around the corner.
Whispers haunt in the dead of night, secrets creep. 3 a.m. calls, shadows dance, the world is deep. Bigfoot trails, poltergeist spins, stories arise. Little beings glimpse, aliens hide behind the sky. 3 a.m. hear echoes surround you in the dark space. What will